Again, we're staying in drawing demo02.dwg in the demo 04 project in the project manager. So make sure you've got the right drawing from your working files. Let's have a look now at another drafting setting on the status bar, this time polar, sometimes known as polar tracking, and it's down here on the status bar next to ortho. Now you'll notice I've deliberately left ortho on. If I go to polar here and click on polar tracking, which is controlled by the F10 there, you can see, if I click on it, ortho goes off. You can't have ortho and polar switched on at the same time, because polar does part of the same as what ortho does. However, polar, you can alter the angles at which you draft or design. So if I click on this arrow here, this will allow me to choose angles that I want to actually set for my polar tracking. So you can see we've got some default angles there. If I go to tracking settings, you can see that the default increment angle for polar tracking, which is there, is 90 degrees. Now I'm going to leave it at 90 degrees and click on OK. I'm going to zoom into the same spot in the drawing again, right here like so, and I'm going to utilize my polar tracking again to draw a line. Now what's really neat about polar tracking is it gives you an on-screen heads-up display, providing you've got your dynamic switched on here, your dynamic input, which I have. So if I go back up here to the line command now, just the straight line command, home tab, draw panel, line command, and I come in here. If I click and then drag horizontally, can you see it's telling me I'm at 0 degrees for polar tracking, and then that little dynamic input box is telling me how long I'm moving along that 0 degree line from the first point of the line that I selected on the screen. So if I go along like that, I can put a distance in of say 4 in the input box there and press enter, and I now know that I've drawn a line 4 units long at 0 degrees. If I come vertically downwards now, can you see how that polar's kicking in at the next polar tracking angle, which is 270 degrees in this case? And as I come down, I might only want that to be, say, 0.5. Press enter, and I'm getting exact distances and exact angles. So as I come along this way now, if I move that way at 180 degrees and type in 4 again and press enter, all I've got to do then is right-click, close the line, and I've got a rectangle. Okay, it's made up of separate line segments, sure. But each of those is drawn exactly at the appropriate degrees and the appropriate distance. That's what polar tracking is all about. Now, the distances that I've input there are known as direct distance entry. So as long as you've got an angle, you can then place a line at that angle using a direct distance. Now, what I've done there is use the default 90 degrees. What would happen if I used 45 degrees instead? Well, let's just pan across a little, utilizing this space here. And what I'll do, I'll come down here, click here, and go to tracking settings again. I'm going to change the incremental angle now here to 45 and OK it. Now, I will still get 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, because they are increments of 45. But I'll also get 45 degrees, 135 degrees, and so on, because they are also increments of 45 degrees. So let's see what happens there. Let's go back to the line command. And again, I can click here, but now look, I get 45 degrees. So if I say I want to go 1.5 in the distance box at 45 degrees, there we go, there's my line. If I come down this way at the opposing 45 degrees, which is 315, and type in 1.5 again, what I can draw here is an exact diamond. Can you see that? 1.5 again, and then all I've got to do is right click and close that. We now have a perfect marker for wire numbering connectors on our AutoCAD electrical drawing. Now we can then convert that to a block, add that to the database and use that as a marker or a connector or anything. This perhaps could be a panel plate showing the text and the naming of the panel. So all of these tools can be used within AutoCAD Electrical to make you more effective and to make you more productive.